Look at the Indian subcontinent. It has a massive coastline, stretching roughly 7,500 kilometers. That is an enormous perimeter to monitor, leaving the country highly exposed to the open sea. Now add the fact that the vast majority of India's international trade flows directly through these surrounding waters. Every day, thousands of cargo vessels move millions of tons of goods, fuel, and raw materials into and out of these ports. Out in the deep water, these commercial vessels are completely isolated. They are prime targets for piracy, maritime terrorism, and interference by rival nations. Because these threats operate hundreds of miles out in international waters, a basic coastal patrol force is structurally incapable of protecting an economy of this size. You have to push the perimeter out. This is the operational domain of the Indian Navy. Operating under the ancient motto, Shang no Varunaha, meaning, "May the Lord of the oceans be auspicious unto us." Their mandate is to secure the nation's maritime interests, from the shoreline to the deep ocean. To actually do that, India required a specific type of military structure known as a blue water navy. In military terms, a blue water force has the logistical and combat capacity to operate across the deep oceans, thousands of miles away from its home ports, for extended periods of time. Over the decades, the Indian Navy has rebuilt itself around this exact requirement. It evolved from a post-colonial fleet focused on border defense into a highly capable force designed to project power and maintain stability across the entire Indian Ocean region. The main logistical problem with deep-sea combat is that you lose the cover of your land-based air force. If you want to control the ocean's surface, you have to bring your aviation with you. This brings us to India's aircraft carriers, INS Vikrant, which was indigenously designed and built, and INS Vikramaditya. These massive vessels function as highly mobile floating air bases. By launching advanced fighter jets like the MiG-29K directly from the deck, the Navy can establish strict air superiority over the fleet, intercepting airborne threats before they get close to the surface vessels. You also need absolute situational awareness. Aircraft like the P-8I Neptune act as the fleet's eyes in the sky, scanning massive sections of the ocean for enemy ships and submarines long before they come into visual range. When you combine these aircraft carriers and their aviation wings with heavily armed destroyers and frigates, you create a self-sustaining mobile bubble of surface control that can move anywhere on the map. Controlling the surface is a requirement, but establishing true deterrence requires a hidden, survivable strike capability below the water. This introduces the concept of the nuclear triad, the ability to launch nuclear strikes from land, air, and sea. Submarines like the nuclear-powered INS Arihant provide the sea-based leg of this triad, ensuring a devastating second strike capability that no enemy can easily locate or destroy. For standard, tactical underwater combat, this nuclear deterrent is backed up by diesel-electric platforms like the Kalvari-class attack submarines, which quietly hunt enemy vessels and protect friendly shipping. The Navy also relies heavily on an elite human element for asymmetric warfare. The Marine Commandos, or Marcos, are a highly specialized force trained for surgical operations, maritime counterterrorism, and deep reconnaissance. The apocalyptic threat of a nuclear submarine and the precision of elite commandos give India the physical capacity to enforce its will at both the highest strategic levels and the tightest tactical environments. There is a practical paradox to building a massive military force. You spend billions on hardware so that you never actually have to use it in a full-scale war. The primary goal is deterrence and maintaining order. That deterrence is backed by proven lethal credibility. During the 1971 war, the Indian Navy executed Operation Trident and Operation Python, devastating enemy port infrastructure and proving their operational strike capabilities. Today, that exact same heavily armed fleet is primarily used for constabulary duties. They actively patrol international shipping lanes, intercept drug shipments, and dismantle piracy operations deep in the ocean. The capacity to deploy overwhelming, undeniable lethal force is the exact tool required to effectively police the seas and guarantee that global trade continues safely. Having a massive, self-sustaining logistical network floating in the ocean also makes the Navy an incredibly fast responder for natural disasters and regional crises. When disaster strikes, warships convert into massive aid delivery platforms. During crises like Operation Sukhun and Operation Rahat, the Navy rapidly evacuated thousands of civilians and delivered critical humanitarian supplies across the region. Over the past 70 years, the Indian Navy has systematically completed its objective. It has grown outward from a basic coastal patrol force into a multidimensional blue water shield that actively secures the country's economic lifeline, projects its strategic interests, and anchors the stability of the broader Indian Ocean.